Du lytter til en original podcast for Caritas Danmark, støttet af Danida.
Det her er en lidt anderledes episode end normalt. Anderledes på den måde, at det ikke er en "jeg har set verden styrte i grus" historie, men en "jeg ser verden styrte i grus" lige nu historie.
I'll just punch the record button right now.
Great.
Med på en direkte linje fra Caritas Jerusalem
Alright.
har jeg
My name is Harout Bedrossian. I have been working for Caritas Jerusalem since 2011. I have started working as the communications officer and currently...
De sidste 12 år har Harout været vidne til at arbejde igennem 4 konflikter i Gaza.
Yes. And I have had the misfortune of managing 4 emergency appeals for Gaza, unfortunately. But this one really is the heaviest, and the element of surprise is great. Not only for, Israeli government or the Gazans, to everyone. And the scope of violence, I should stress, comparing to the 4 previous conflicts that we faced, this is the most violent, the most unexpected, and the fiercest ever I remember.
Fordi dagens historie er så aktuel, og at der sker så meget fra time til time, fra dag til dag, så er formålet med den her historie at give dig kontekst og perspektiv på krisen, selvom dagens historie selvfølgelig er et øjebliksbillede. Et øjebliksbillede taget mandag morgen kl. 8:03.
Just for the context, our headquarters is located in Jerusalem.
I Caritas Jerusalems kontor.
And we have offices in West Bank, and in Gaza we have a medical center, which we provide primary health care.
Omkring 100 medarbejdere, lige fra socialarbejdere til laboratorieteknikere til sygeplejersker og læger, arbejder for og med Caritas Jerusalem, der er den katolske kirkes humanitære hjælpeorganisation i Israel og altså også i Palæstina.
And we go to the periphery all around Gaza.
Caritas Jerusalem arbejdede inden krigen blandt andet med støtte fra Caritas Danmark for at sikre lægehjælp til de mest udsatte i Gaza. På grund af krigen og for de ansattes sikkerhed har Caritas Jerusalem været nødt til at indstille de fleste aktiviteter.
So again, how many of your staff is inside Gaza?
Around 100. Yes, they are Gazans. They live there. We do this, we recruit our team from Gaza because of the difficulties with the conflict. Without the conflict, it's very hard to get into Gaza. You need a special permit and coordination and such. In order to avoid all these complexities, all of our staff, they are Gazans. They live there.
We begin tonight with the Middle East in flames. Israel has formally declared war after that unprecedented multi-pronged terror attack from Hamas.
The whole situation in Palestine and Israel is very, very tense, which is an understatement. What happens is that fear, animosity, intolerance have increased. It is natural that it increases during these times, but here, in this instance, the scale of it is higher. If there was some let's say, living together, tolerance and dialogue all died. What happened is that I can describe this specifically for Gaza. For Gaza, our primary goal as Caritas Jerusalem is the well-being of our staff. We have put a system in which we give emotional and psychological support to the staff we have there. We are in constant communication with them, although communication is getting harder and harder for several reasons. Number one, electricity is completely cut down, and our main communication is through cell phones, but they have to charge their cell phones, and it's getting more difficult to charge them. Internet, of course, is on and off, and now there are rumors that they will cut all internet connections from Gaza, and it will be more difficult for them to communicate. What we know so far, and we were able to communicate even yesterday, which was Sunday, and all our staff, thanks God, are physically safe. But we do know that several of our staff houses have been demolished. All of our staffs have moved. We have both Christian and Muslim staffs. Most of them are Muslim because, Gaza is a population of more than 2.1 million people. There are only around 970 individuals who are Christian. So most of our staff are Muslim there. We don't differentiate as Caritas to the religion or ethnicity. We have a lot of stories where, by miracle or by luck, whatever you want to call it, that they are physically not harmed. But psychologically, all are exhausted. They are burnt out. What we do is that we communicate and say, how can we help? What can we do? It's good that our doctors, before the conflict, we equipped them with first aid kits and some basic medicines. And from there, we are very well known as Caritas for their health interventions, and through their networks, those people who need, dressing of wounds and simple treatments, they come to them and they give them the needed treatments. We also have some medicines left, not much.
So when you or your colleagues talk to them, what do they tell you when you talk with them yesterday?
They are still in shock. It's natural because this was not preconceived. There were no signs. It happened so suddenly. Everyone is surprised. And it takes time for people to sink in the sudden explosion, let's call it. So they are currently passed through that, but they are very much afraid and concerned. They need psychosocial support. They tell us about the situation, the destruction. They also say that this is the hardest ever we experienced. Everyone has lost someone they know or part of their families, I'm afraid. If it's not a friend, it's a neighbor. If it's not a neighbor, it's a relative. So the situation is really very, very bad.
Hmm.
And they're saying also that food is running out, fuel is running out, drinkable water is running out.
Med kun ganske lidt drikkevand, mad og medicin og sjældent strøm, er det eneste lys, de 100 Caritas-ansatte har om natten, er glimtene fra bomberne, der falder om ørerne på dem. Der er ingen steder at flygte hen, da grænsen mod syd, altså grænsen mellem Palæstina og Egypten, blev bombet de første dage efter Hamas' angreb. Men som vi optager mandag klokken 8.39 nu, har Harout netop hørt et rygte om, at en nødhjælpskorridor bliver åbnet senere i dag.
It's good that today we heard that the humanitarian corridor will be open through the Egyptian border for a few hours. It's not confirmed yet, but I hope this will be realized so that these poor people will get some basic necessities of life. Otherwise, there will be starvation, mass starvation. We also talked to them that these hundreds of thousands of people who are gathered in UNRWA schools or the compound, how do you provide them with food? You know, it's a huge financial burden for these people. And the colleague said that in UNRWA schools, they can only afford to give them one piece of bread with a slice of cheese. That's what they give them. And people, whoever has some money, they go to the market and they buy whatever they can find. And also because of lack of food, it's very natural that the prices have rocketed way high than they normally are. And it's chaos. It's chaos.
Alt er kaos. Mandag her klokken 11.40 skriver Politikken på deres hjemmeside, at civile i massevis er strømmet til grænsen mellem Gazastriben og Rafah i Egypten, men der er ingen aftale om at åbne grænseovergangen, siger Israel. Politikken skriver i samme statusopdateringer, at 2.750 palæstinensere har mistet livet, og 9.700 er blevet såret i israelske angreb siden Hamas sidste lørdag angreb en række israelske byer. Mere end 1.300 israelere mistede livet i Hamas angreb. Hvad der herefter sker, er uvist i fortællende stund.
Yeah, I guess, as you said, it's chaos and there's a lot of fear everywhere. So, given your experience, is there some kind of hope now, or should we look days ahead for seeing when hope start to somehow manifest?
Difficult question. We always, as Caritas Jerusalem, say we plant seeds of hope. This is our role as a church or a faith-based organization, not only Caritas Jerusalem, but Denmark, but everywhere. But what's happening is that it sounds a cliche where violence breeds violence, and the new generation, when they witness all these atrocities from both sides, sitting together and talking about peace and resolutions and human rights is getting more difficult, because this new generation have witnessed so much violence and bloodshed, it only makes things more difficult. I mean, you meet a person from Gaza, a 14-year-old who witnessed 4 wars, and this is the 5th, and the most violent, and they see children, civilians from both sides, let's not be one-sided, who are wounded and killed, and how can there be hope for the new generation to sit together? You talk to the new generation. We have a lot of projects with the youth and volunteers. You talk to them, the Israeli side, they tell you, let them go away. We don't want them. We don't want to see them. You go to the Palestinian side, it's the same reaction. This is our land. We don't want to talk to them. We don't want the dialogue with them. We don't want peace with them. We are hopeful that this thing will stop, but the actual things that are going on in the field all indicate otherwise, unfortunately.
Ja, vi håber, at tingene stopper, men alt, hvad der sker lige nu, indikerer det modsatte, desværre. Det er en sætning skabt af kaos. Og lige nu ser det hele mere end en anelse sort ud.
This is focused now in Gaza, and now it's spreading throughout the region, as you pointed out. Yesterday night, there were attacks from the north, from Syria, from Lebanon, and vice versa. So it was concentrated in the West Bank, and West Bank is not in the main media, by the way, but there are a lot of wounded, and more than 20 people have been killed during the past week around north of Palestine, which is Jenin area, Bethlehem area, where there are a lot of settlements around, and where the conflict was focused on Palestine and Israel. Now it's spreading in other parts of Israel and the region in general. Like I said, the Lebanese border is very insecure, and we are concerned that another front will be opened from there. The Syrian border from the north, Golan Heights, is also insecure. There was a missile fired from there to Nahariya, which is in the north of Israel, after the attack of Israel on Syrian borders, and there were also wounded and killed from Israeli side and on the other side. So all these things is increasing the fear, the uncertainty. For instance, Haifa, which is one of the biggest cities in Israel, my in-laws live there, and they called me. They said, we are very much afraid. Maybe we want to move to Jerusalem. I told them Jerusalem is not so safe either, but you are most welcome. So people everywhere in the whole country, in the whole region, are insecure, and they only want that the international community intervene and stop this war. And really, we as Caritas Jerusalem see that it's a pity for all the killing, for all the bloodshed. I mean, I always say this, at the end of the day, Palestinians are not going anywhere. Israelis are not going anywhere. Let's sit together for an open dialogue, justice, based on human rights. What now the details, two-state solution, one-state solution, politically we're not involved. Whatever they want, fine. At least to live together with humanitarian, equal rights based on justice for both sides. This is our message to the world. Equal rights, justice, equality for both sides. Otherwise, it will go on and on and on. And from our experience, this cycle of violence, which is going on and off every couple of years or 3 years, is getting smaller and smaller. And each cycle is getting more violent than the previous cycle. The 4 conflicts before, which were very bloody, very violent, and comparing to this one, this is the most. What can we tell? We always hope for the better, but the reality again on the ground point otherwise.
Yeah, I guess it must be like crazy frustrating just to wait to reopen and do stuff again. Again, that frustration must be, really. I can imagine. It must be crazy.
You really hit the nail, on the head, as they say. This is the most frustrating point. I agree with you, where you look for solutions and it's a state of confusion everywhere. You don't know where this thing is leading. But when you hear that there will be ground invasion, when you hear big words from the other side, like we will change the Middle East, what was yesterday will not be today, and you wonder what's going on. Again, for the safety of our staff, we cannot do much. Okay, we can do what we can with our limited resources, but as you pointed out, it's really frustrating. But we're doing the best that we can. Today, for instance, we have a big meeting with other faith-based organization based in Jerusalem, and we want to hear what others are doing so that immediately we cover the gaps and coordinate together. At 10 today, we have a meeting with FAO, where if they open this humanitarian corridor, we want to explore how Caritas can, do something through them. But all this is too early to say. I don't know if they really will open this humanitarian corridor. I don't know if there will be a ground invasion, but the probability is that there will be a ground invasion because Israel has called up 360,000 of its reservists ready for it. And of course, the expansion of the violence to all the region. Again, everything is in limbo now up there. But we are always hopeful for the better.
Et håb er måske det, der skal til lige nu, for tingene ser sort ud.
Where are we going with this? This is the question. What next? If the war ends today, we are living together. How can we continue in living together? Although there is fake living together, but at least we know one another. Sometimes we say hello. That also has disappeared. What's going to happen after the war? how can we also continue what was? It will take a lot of time to change things which weren't good previously to its state. And this thing is very worrisome, and it's very concerning, especially for the new generation, where they don't want to see one another. They don't want to hear one another. I mean, they go to the same universities, they go to the same hospitals, it's a small country. We have to find a way in living together in peace, based on justice, based on human rights, based on respect, based on freedom of movement, based on freedom of speech, all the human rights that are trodden should come back. The international community has to think about the far-reaching and not only immediate resolutions, but, for long-term resolutions. Otherwise, there will be another unnecessary bloodshed. Even if the war is stopped today, there will be another cycle of violence in a couple of years. And this we have witnessed over and over and over again. So this is my answer.
Yeah. So your answer is more like a question, how do we do it? And not...
There are bigger players on the ground. This is not Caritas' role, I'm afraid. But this is a big concern for Caritas, for the church, for everyone. Just a week ago, Bethlehem, the Nativity Church, was packed with tourists and pilgrims. If you wanted to go to the birthplace of Jesus, you had to wait for hours. If you wanted to go to the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem and visit the grave of our Lord, you had to wait for hours. Today I went and prayed in the Holy Sepulchre. There's no one around. Silence. No one. Nothing. Suddenly, all pilgrims and tourists are gone. You walk through Jerusalem, it's like a ghost town. A colleague of mine who works from Bethlehem took a photo from his cell phone in the Nativity Church. Not a sound. Empty. Wherein 1 week ago, who would have imagined the church was packed? You had to line up from outside for hours in order to get into the church. Tourism has stopped. The hotels have closed. The tour guides have stopped. The souvenir shops have closed. All this has so much negative consequences on the economy on both sides. And when will these things revive? Who will pay for all of this? The small citizen who will get bankrupt, who are suffering financially, who are suffering physically. And if you look at the atrocities, most people that are being killed from both sides, they are civilians, children, women, elderly. What for? No one can return the innocent blood that was shed.
Det var dagens episode. En episode, der stiller flere spørgsmål, end den giver svar. Men sådan må vi nok acceptere, at det er, når kaos hersker. I næste uge udkommer en lyddokumentar optaget i Ghana. Så husk at følge Jeg har set verden, styrte i grus. En podcast, der støttes af Danida, udgives af Caritas Danmark og produceres af podcastbureauet her. Dagens episode er tilrettelagt af Annette Lilleøre. I arbejdsgruppen finder du fra Caritas Danmark Peter Christian Rode, Nye Guldberg, Jakob Nu Sønderstrup. Jakob er også ham, der har lavet temamelodien, som du hører lige nu. Tak for at lytte med.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to hear this firsthand and what you're doing. I think it's so important, even though you are in a limbo right now.
I sincerely want to thank our Caritas and sister organizations like Caritas Denmark and others, I will not mention everyone, who really support us in these important times. And it's really important for our end beneficiaries when we tell them this aid, this support, whatever it is, it's not about the money, it's about the aid, it's about the support. It's really important for them that the world hasn't forgotten them. They are not alone.